Hello and welcome to a new video here on my channel here at commaikEnglish. In today's video, I'll show you how I dry out the basement in my house by installing a new horizontal barrier in the walls. This time, I'm using an injection cream. If you want to know how this works, how I get the stuff into the wall, and whether it even works at all, stay tuned. We're about to get started. The room you see behind me belongs to a house that was built in 1900. There is no solid foundation here. Back then, they built directly into the ground. In the past, I installed a drainage system around the house, and over time the walls have dried out. In this area, it's worked relatively well because the basement here is at ground level, but you can see that the walls in the basement have moisture damage. The walls are crystallizing, they're salting out. Moisture is still rising from the soil up into the basement walls where it evaporates. The salts remain in the wall and bloom out. I've already applied special renovation plaster. The paint is specially made for damp rooms and the room is properly ventilated. Basically, I have no problems with mold or moisture damage. Still, I want to make the basement a bit more livable. As you can see here, the paint peels off when I run my hand over it. The plaster falls off, it just doesn't look nice. To test whether to renovate the walls is worth it, I need to know how damp the walls are. I have to measure that. For this, I got myself a moisture meter. It's relatively easy to use. You'll find the purchase link below in the video description. I turn the device on and the color display activates. One click on the top button for calibration and I can measure the moisture in the walls. To do this, I just hold the device up to the wall. As you can see, almost 40% moisture. That's in the medium range, as you can see here. If I now measure further down, where the salts are blooming, the moisture level rises significantly. Here, where the wall looks much worse, I'm already at 52%. It's the beginning of January. It has been raining more or less continuously for the past 2 months. In the summer, the measurement values naturally look much better. Nevertheless, it's obviously not the point for the paint and plaster to flake off and for the walls to no longer look nice. That's why I want to do something about the damp walls. For this, there are various options. One option, for example, is the subsequent installation of a horizontal barrier in the masonry. Today, I'm using an injection cream. It releases a chemical substance that penetrates deep into the masonry. There it hardens and forms a hydrophobic layer. Water can no longer pass through there. Anyone who follows my channel closely will know that I have already done this in the other basement rooms, which are located underground. I've already done this. There, I used injection fluids that are poured into the wall using a funnel. Over time, I've had very good experiences with that. Here, I want to try out the somewhat thicker injection cream. The installation is relatively simple. Down here, I look for a spot about 10 to 15 centimeters above the floor, the bed joint, that's the horizontal mortar layer between the bricks. For this, I'll first remove the plaster and expose the wall. Then, in this bed joint, I'll drill horizontal holes into the wall at intervals of 10 to 12 centimeters. The holes need to be deep enough that they reach to within 5 centimeters of the end of the wall. That's quite long. The walls in my house are up to 1 meter thick. Here, the walls are 36 centimeters and 48 centimeters thick. That's quite a lot. Once I've drilled the holes, I'll inject the injection cream into them using a cartridge gun. Then the holes will be sealed again. I will measure the moisture levels beforehand and create a protocol. Then, after a week, a month, and so on, I will take further measurements. So you see, it's definitely worth watching the video until the end. That way you'll see whether it was worth it and whether the moisture in the walls and in the basement room has gone down. But before I get started, now is the right time to click the like button below the video. That supports me and my channel. It helps me move forward. If you're interested and want to try the drying process yourself, you'll find links to all the products I use below the video. Same price for you and a small commission for me and my channel. That's how I fund my projects. Enough advertisement, let's get started. I'm going to knock off the plaster and prepare the drill holes. I've exposed the plaster at this spot and quickly found the bed joint as well. The bricks are perfectly level. I can mark the joint along the entire length. The manufacturer recommends removing the plaster over a large area, up to 80 centimeters above the damaged spots. I read that. It's probably also because this way the moisture that's already in the masonry can evaporate better. No new water is coming in from below, but the moisture is already inside the wall. But I'm a pragmatist after all. I put a lot of effort into plastering these walls. When I was knocking off the plaster, I noticed that it's really solid. It only effloresces on the surface. For this reason, I won't expose the masonry. I'll mark the height on the plaster with a spirit level and make the markings for my drill holes. I've marked the bed joint on the wall and at intervals of 10 centimeters marked where my drill holes will go. I chose 10 centimeters because I am using a 12mm drill bit for the purpose of this particular task, holes. Now to find out how deep I need to drill the holes into the basement wall, I first need to determine the thickness of the wall. Ideally, I can measure the wall thickness in the window reveal. At an open window or door, I can measure the wall thickness with a folding ruler. Insulation, facing brick, and the like must, of course, be subtracted. In my case, it's not quite so simple because the basement walls were not built the same way everywhere. Here, the wall is 36 centimeters thick. Back there as well, 36 centimeters. On the other side of the house, the walls are already 1 meter thick. However, those are not built with bricks. I've already marked the drill bit, so I know how deep I can drill in altogether. The 36 centimeter thick wall minus 5 centimeters of space to the outside. That gives a drilling depth of 31 centimeters. I've marked these 31 centimeters on the drill bit with a piece of tape. Now I can drill the holes in the wall, and then the drilling dust will be thoroughly vacuumed out. After that, I can inject the injection cream into the wall. It took almost 2 hours to drill the holes into the wall. Why? The wall was relatively damp in the back part, and the drill really had a hard time reaching the 31 centimeter drilling depth. In between, I cleaned the holes with my vacuum cleaner and then continued drilling. Then I went into the hole a second time with the drill. That made it easier to get the damp, clay-like drilling dust out. At the moment, I'm considering whether I should leave the drill holes open for a while so that the wall dries out faster. However, I really want to finally try out the injection cream. What do you think? Should the holes stay open for a while as a kind of ventilation system? Or should I use the moisture in the wall to optimize the activation of the chemical agents? Let me know in the comments below the video. I'm curious to hear what you can recommend to me. Nevertheless, I will fill the holes with the injection cream, and I've already done a bit of preparation for this. I got myself a new cartridge gun. There. The 60 centimeter long sausage packs also fit in there, so that I can get the cream all the way to the back of the wall. I carefully attached a substantial piece of flexible hose to the very front of the funnel. With this secure connection, I was ready to proceed. With the heat from a lighter, it sticks quite well. The hose comes from an old water level, a hose water level. It fits perfectly into the drilled holes. I'm curious to see if it will work this way. Works the way I imagine it. Now I'll insert the sausage pack with the cream, attach the nozzle and cut open the bag. Then I'll press the injection cream into the wall, hole by hole. Afterwards, the drill holes should be sealed again. I won't get a big bag of cement mortar or renovation plaster. Just for this small amount of mortar, buy and mix. For these roughly 20 holes, I'm going to keep it really simple. I bought myself a tube of ready-made repair mortar. This stuff is really great. You can use the mortar for small repairs or cracks in the walls by simply applying it with a caulking gun and smoothing it out. Done! Enough talk, let's get started. I'm really curious to see how I'll get the injection cream into the drill holes. later, it has become evident that the previously filled holes have unfortunately opened up a little again, indicating a clear need for further attention. This means I will definitively need to go over them once more with the cement mortar, ensuring a more thorough and lasting repair to completely seal these persistent openings. But has the drying out been worth it so far? Looking at my graphs in my Home Assistant, it definitely has. The humidity is slowly but steadily gone down. But what does it look like inside the wall? Is new moisture coming up from below? Or is the remaining moisture just evaporating from the wall into the room? Will the wall eventually get so dry that the overall climate improves significantly? It's time to evaluate the first results. In addition to my device for measuring wall moisture, I also use smart measuring devices from Tapo that show me the room temperature and humidity. These devices are connected to my network, and through my Home Assistant I can read how the values have developed. That's very nice. But these data don't really tell me much about what the values are like inside the wall. That's why I'm now doing the test on this particular wall. Back then I meticulously recorded the initial moisture values of the wall directly at the precise location where the measurements were taken, noted clearly on the wall. Now, with this information, I can make a direct and accurate comparison. I will now turn on the device and carefully calibrate the device. Originally, I had a wall moisture reading of 63.3% here. Currently, as you can clearly see, on the maximum possible scale, it's a significant 52.8. That's definitely a much better and more favorable value. It was 78.7 originally and currently 83. Here, the measured value is a bit higher than expected. A second, more precise measurement was taken. Okay, here it consistently stays higher, 82.1 compared to the previous reading of 58. Here, the overall value has clearly and significantly improved. Over here, we can observe the positive change. You can clearly and distinctly see how the efflorescent salts are visibly blooming and crystallizing out of the wall surface once again. Comparing the current reading of 57.2 to the previous measurement of 56.6, it is evident that here too, the moisture content within the wall structure has demonstrably gone down a little bit, indicating a positive change in the drying process. The development on my blue wall behind me has been quite similar, by the way. With most of the holes, the wall moisture has gone down a little. In 2 or 3 holes, however, it has also gone up slightly. I suspect that the injection cream is still spreading. Around the drill holes, you can clearly see this from the dark rings. That is the liquid that expands from the drill hole into the wall and seals it there. Whether this new horizontal barrier will work in the medium and long term, I can't tell you today yet. My test after 2 and 4 weeks has definitely been positive so far. If you want to know what it looks like after a year, subscribe to my channel in about to produce another video in 12 months. Then I'll draw a conclusion after a year. Stay tuned and look forward to that video. I'm looking forward to exchanging ideas with you. Leave your feedback under the video in the comments section. Tell me about your experiences and what you can recommend to me. What products do you use? I would also be really happy if you give my video a like, of course. That really helps me out. If you also plan to use the products for drying out and want to support my channel at the same time, then check out the description below the video. There I've linked all the products I use here for you. Same price for you and a small commission for my channel. And for all the new projects I still have planned. Thank you for that. And I'm already looking forward to the follow-up in about 12 months. Ciao, see you next time.